guys, welcome back to the video. In this video is a spoiler-free review of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Starring Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal. Unfulfilled and facing financial ruin, actor Nick Cage accepts a $1 million offer to attend a wealthy fan's birthday party. Things take a wildly unexpected turn when a CIA operative recruits Cage for an unusual mission. Taking on the role of a lifetime, he soon finds himself channeling his most iconic and beloved characters to save himself and his loved ones. Before we get into it, if you guys are new here and you enjoy all my movie reviews, trailer reactions, and breakdowns, make sure to subscribe and notifications on so you don't miss any time I upload a new video or I go live. Both don't waste any more time. Let's get into it. Now, I will preface this by saying I haven't seen too many of Nick Cage's super old movies. I know he's in like 100+ movies, so there's no way I would have seen all of them, but I haven't seen a lot of his older stuff. I've seen a lot of his newer stuff like Mandy and Pig was one of my favorite movies of last year, and so I was going into this movie with very high expectations. I was very excited for this movie from the very beginning, from the first trailers, and when we first found out that it was Pedro Pascal and Nick Cage together, that was a duo that never came to my mind until we were told about it, and I was just so excited for it, and this movie completely delivered. So starting it off with Pedro Pascal, he's absolutely phenomenal in this movie. Anytime that he was on screen, my theater was having absolutely insane laughs. It was so much fun. It was an absolutely packed theater during this early screening, and I can't wait to go rewatch this movie sometime in the future because it was just such a fun time. The dynamic between Pedro Pascal and Nick Cage is unbeatable in this movie, and I think that the writing just elevated everything so much. Now, comedic writing obviously differs from person to person if you like it or not. This movie, I will say, the writing in a sense is kind of dumb comedy, but it's more like dumb heartfelt comedy in comparison to movies like Deadpool, for example, where it's just sex jokes the entire time. I think this time it's just more like dumb jokes the entire time, but I had a fun time with the dumb jokes. My entire theater was laughing at these dumb jokes, so I think if you're a fan of these just stupid run and gun fun adventure comedies, I think you'll really like this movie. It's actually sitting at a 100% Rotten Tomatoes at the time I'm recording this video with 31 reviews, and that is absolutely insane. I personally will give this movie a very high rating and stay to the end of the video so you can see my official score. But yeah, back to Pedro Pascal. I think he's just absolutely perfect in this movie, from his line delivery to his acting itself. It's just all really, really well done. Obviously, that's kudos to the writing, and as a whole, like I said before, the writing is just absolutely phenomenal in this movie. I would call it near perfect. This movie is actually also pretty bonkers. Now, it's weird to say that, especially after just watching Everything Everywhere All at Once. I will say, in comparison to that movie, in comparison to all of those crazy multiverse things, it's not on that level per se, but compared to a regular movie, this is still top tier just craziness in a wild movie. Towards the end, there's this really funny reveal, and I think it makes sense in the sense of this movie, whereas if it was in any other movie, people would definitely have gotten mad at it, but I think the story lends itself to a bunch of different opportunities towards the end of the movie, so I definitely didn't think the ending was predictable at all, and I think it all just works. And this at its core is technically a treasure hunt movie. It's more of like saving this person. I'm not going to say exactly what it is because I don't want to really give away too many other plot details, because the synopsis doesn't really go into detail, and neither does the trailer. The trailer really doesn't share the main story of this movie, and I'm very, very happy they didn't, because the main center story it's very interesting, but I don't feel like it ever takes too much of a front seat. It feels like it's always an underlying factor that's moving the story forward, of course, moving these character arcs forward, but at the same time, you're mainly focused on Pedro Pascal and Nick Cage's characters' connection. I also think all of the side characters in this movie are great. Everyone who's in Nick Cage's family is awesome. Tiffany Haddish is also in this movie. She's hilarious. But speaking on Nick Cage, this is just absolutely a love letter to his career. Again, I haven't seen a lot of the movies from his like first 30 years in Hollywood, but I've seen a lot of them in the recent years, and this just feels like a great culmination of everything, I can say. This movie is just very well executed in terms of kind of creating this Nick Cage character in this fantasy world while still kind of relating it back to our Nick Cage, I guess, like what we get in interviews from him. And I will say there's a lot of just very sad like realities of Hollywood actors and stuff like that in this movie, and it's very well acted out by Nick Cage. And Nick Cage said in a bunch of interviews in the press tour for this movie some of the things that are actually in this movie about like why he started to take so many random roles and the reason for all that. And again, I don't want to say anything specific because the trailers don't really give that away, but from what Nick Cage has said in real life and what is in this movie, it feels very realistic to me, and I really like that. It feels like it's a little bit more transparent of a comedy. It's not emotional as in it's very sad and it made me cry or anything like that, but it's emotional in terms of it feels way more transparent than any other comedy that I've seen before. So there's just a subtle layer of emotion there. And I already mentioned this before, but I kind of want to talk about this on the emotional scale. I think the bromance between Pedro Pascal and Nick Cage's characters, it's just unmatched. And I think towards the end of the movie, it creates a real sense of relationship. And I feel like the audience, at least my audience that I was watching in the theater with, was just very connected to all of that. I think that we all found a great connection between these two characters and just the way they built it up, again, through the writing of this movie, through the ups and downs of this character relationship, and how many times they built something up that just led to something absolutely hilarious with the two characters. Most comedy movies usually wrap up in a pretty cliche way, but I wasn't really expecting the ending of this movie, and not to say that it was bad. I actually thought the ending was one of the best parts of this movie, just the way they culminated everything together and kind of culminated all of the character arcs in a more subtle way. It wasn't like, I love you, I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you. Like, that's kind of what it was in, for example, Everything Everywhere All at Once. But in this movie, it felt more subtle and it felt kind of, I guess, more nuanced, and it kind of felt more deserved, I guess. One very underrated aspect of this movie that I feel like a lot of people won't be mentioning when the movie comes out is the action. It's actually really fun action. It's not too over the top. It's not just too subtle. Like, it's there, it fits in the story, and everything feels like it has a purpose here. It doesn't feel like it's just thrown in to kind of make something that everyone in the audience will like. Everything feels like it's there for a reason, and I can really, really value that. But as a whole, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent was an awesome movie. I would say Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal's chemistry was absolutely unmatched. This is definitely going to end up being one of the best movies of the year. As a whole, I'm going to give Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent a 9 out of 10. I absolutely love this movie, and I definitely think it's worth the watch in theaters. Let me know if you're excited for Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.